Hey everybody, James here with Political Divergence, and on today's episode number one, we're going to be discussing the day's most pressing news story. And, well, it's a pretty big one. Let's check it out.
Look at what happened.
Former President Donald Trump has broken his silence after he was rushed off a stage at a rally in Pennsylvania minutes after gunshots were heard on Saturday, July 13th. In video from the rally, the 78-year-old was seen ducking underneath the podium before Secret Service rushed to cover him.
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
When he got up, he was seen with blood on the side of his head and ear, but is reportedly safe and fine. The Secret Service confirmed in a post on X that he is currently being, quote, checked out at a local medical facility. Following the incident, the former president took to social media to speak out, writing, quote, I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through my skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. The shooter and a spectator from the rally are dead, and 2 other people are in serious condition per NBC News. In his post, Trump thanks the Secret Service and law enforcement, writing, quote, most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured, adding, it is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. The Secret Service says that the incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has notified the FBI. President Joe Biden spoke on camera about the shooting, calling it, quote, sick, and said he hopes to speak with Trump this evening. When he was asked by a reporter if it was an assassination attempt, Biden said, quote, I have an opinion, but I don't have all the facts.
I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. He's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to can be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
That was probably the most coherent that Biden has been in quite a while. I'm glad that he came out with a positive message. He's right. There has been a lot of strife lately in the political scene in America. And quite frankly, I didn't expect the left to be quite as supportive of Trump. And honestly, they didn't have any other choice. I mean, this was a very blatant attack on Donald Trump and his life. And as much as people joke about this type of thing, it's never okay. So now that we're going down that route, of not being okay, the gentleman that took the shots at President Trump is no longer alive. And that's his own fault. But this gentleman, he didn't have a choice in the matter. And not only did he not have a choice in the matter, I'm sure he did not think, even for a moment, that yesterday would be his last day. His name, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly, but I'm going to try my best. And if I'm wrong in the pronunciation, I truly, truly apologize to anyone that is hearing this video. This gentleman went to the Trump rally yesterday with the idea that he's going to support Donald Trump in his efforts to run for president. Reportedly, he was there with 4 or 5 family members, wife, daughter, mother. I'm not sure who all was there. But regardless, they witnessed a tragedy. They witnessed their man of the household be struck in the head with a bullet and to be killed instantly. You know, eyewitness accounts are that he was struck in the head and he fell down the bleachers onto other people below him because he was standing. But I'd just like to say, more than anything, regardless of our political stances, our personal views on the politics behind it, because people can get really emotionally attached to political ideas. I really would like to send my condolences to the family of Corey Comparatore. If you guys are watching this, man, there's a GoFundMe that has been started and supported by the Trump campaign. Once the family does burials and bill pay and all of that, I mean, and you're losing the financial input of a man of the house. $100,000 is nothing for this family. Moving forward, we can make sure that we don't forget this man or his family. We can make sure that we bless them the best ways that we can. If you can't financially, then find a way, man. Find a way somewhere, somehow, to send out your condolences. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next thing. Trump was shot. You can see here the blood across his face. Hand up under the American flag. By the way, this image here is probably going to be one of the most iconic images of the American political scene to ever exist. Donald Trump surrounded by Secret Service, blood on his cheek, fist in the air under the American flag. Simply amazing. The man's a genius. I mean, even in the midst of all of this, when they knew that they took down the shooter, you could hear on the microphone Trump saying, hold on, I need to get my shoes. And they said, sir, we got you. And he said, no, wait. And he took the time to address the crowd this way. And he told them to fight. Fight, he says. It's a breathtaking photo. Yeah, it really, really is. I don't know. It's a lot to take in all at once, but reality is that there are demented people in the world. And even though they do evil things, it is my belief that with God, all things are possible, and with God, good prevails. So, even though this man did a bad thing, he probably inadvertently brought the political scene together a little bit more than it was ever going to be before. If there's a silver lining to this, and with Corey having lost his life, I mean, it's hard to say that there's necessarily a silver lining, but it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. I can't go back and change things. But that being said, man, let's move on to the next part of the story here. So at this point in the story, there's really no way of us knowing his motives or finding out exactly what he did. I mean, the Secret Service, they're pretty good at doing this type of thing, and they're currently still investigating everything. But Thomas Matthew Crooks is the name of the young man who did this heinous act. He was a 20-year-old white male from Pennsylvania. They say he lived about an hour away. And he traveled there, and unfortunately, Mr. Crooks decided to climb up on the building here. And you can see in the image, if I enlarge it here, you can see where the red dot, the solid dot in the upper portion of the middle there, location of suspected gunman's body. He was on top of a glass factory. He climbed up and was bear crawling across the top. And the area in the red box down here is where the stage was at in the rally. So there are reports that people did see him bear crawling across the top of the building, and they tried to get the attention of the local law enforcement, but there was just not enough time for them to be able to relay that message and to be able to, how can I put it, properly deal with the situation. Because as much as we would love for them to have been able to stop him, it probably would have ended in some type of situation regardless, because there's reports that the Secret Service and the FBI have located his home and vehicles, and they've found explosives. Yeah, so I mean, this guy, I don't think he planned on having a way out, and probably very nihilistic. If you put explosives in places just to hurt more people after you do what you're gonna do. I mean, it's a sad, sad way of looking at the world, but all the way back from, historic times to now, there are twisted men that do twisted things. And luckily for us, there are men in this world that are trained to deal with those men. And here is a photo of just such a man. This is the sniper that actually took the lethal shot. I watched a video where they were actually taking shots, and you could tell the moment, the crack of the gun. Not sure what kind of gun they're using, but I would hate to have to go against this man in a battle of any sorts, because I have seen photos of Thomas Matthew Crook, and that man is a deadly accurate shot, which Thomas Matthew Crook was pretty good with a gun himself. To be that far away and to be just 20 years old and to just nick the ear of Donald Trump from that far. I mean, Trump literally could not have been any closer to death without actually getting hit in the head and surviving. He got the top of his right ear nicked. That's literally just the matter of the wind. The wind is most likely what saved Donald Trump's life. Bullets do crazy things when they're in their trajectories, when they're flying through the air at high velocities. Physics takes over and things happen that we just can't explain without that knowledge. So that man right there took the shot, and I have blurred it a bit, but this is as gory and as graphic as I'm going to get on my channel here. But he was on another building across the way. It was a pretty good ways away, but I'd say the sniper was just as far away from the shooter as the shooter was away from Donald Trump. The difference was that the sniper of the Secret Service was a lot more experienced. So that's how that ended for Mr. Thomas Matthew Cook. To anybody out there that has some idea that you're going to do something like this, man, just take this as a lesson learned that you can't come against the entire government as a single man to try to take out the president. You know, somebody tried it back in 1981 with Ronald Reagan, and he survived. You know, somebody did it to JFK. Somebody did it to Abraham Lincoln. I'm sure throughout the years there's been many, many people that were just angry enough to do something this psychotic. But for some reason they weren't able to. I truly, truly hope that if there's anyone out there that is having thoughts or ruminations of doing something like this, that you just reach out and find the help that you need. If you're somebody that knows someone else that could be going through something like this, speak to them. Say something. And if they're not listening to you, or if you're too afraid to say something to someone that can step in and do something. A lot of times people like this make statements and act weird and do things like that. And once again, this is a case where the shooter was known by his entire community. And not only was he known by his community, he, how can I put it? Was known by his community to be an outcast. And to be the type of kid that could and would likely do something of this nature at some point. So let's go to a video of reported classmates of Thomas.
I didn't have any interaction with him, but he was like a kid that was always alone. He was always bullied every day. He was just an outcast. Yeah. I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're going to see someone like that, and they're going to target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. It's honestly kind of sad. I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
And you said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much. So much. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his parents.
How did he dress?
Like they were just saying jeans. He'd wear hunting outfits sometimes. He would always wear a mask, even after COVID. He wore a mask.
So, that doesn't really give us a lot of information on Thomas, but kind of gives me a couple ideas. One, he was bullied a lot, and that's not an excuse by any means, but I can tell you from firsthand experience that I was bullied a tremendous amount when I was in school myself. I was an overweight child who had obsessive compulsive disorder and was severely, as the video said, relentlessly ridiculed by my classmates. And it caused me a lot of anger growing up. And in my 20s, I was a crazy person. Treated people badly around me. I treated people like everybody was against me. And it wasn't until I found Jesus that I was able to turn my life around and find peace, love, and happiness. So with that being said, this gentleman was very likely to be a miserable individual who did not have very much self-love, and unfortunately he took his frustrations out on the world. Um, None of this is an excuse. It's just cause and effect, guys. That's all I'm saying. So if you guys know anybody that's like this, man, and there's something you can do it. Step in and say something. If you guys are in high school, middle school, or in college and you see somebody getting bullied, even at the workplace, I've seen this happen in factories, man. If you see somebody getting bullied, man, speak up. Say something. It's not right. We're all entitled to the pursuit of happiness. Okay? And that means that we should be able to go somewhere like a public school or a job and to not be made fun of and ridiculed by our entire peer group because of some thing that you can't control. If you're somebody that deserves to be ridiculed, then fine. If you're a pedo or you're somebody that's hurt innocent people, yeah, let's ridicule those people out of society. But if you just dress differently or something like that, I mean, that's no reason for people to be acting that way. And it drives the human psyche to do some crazy things. And I don't think necessarily that in this case it was the only thing that happened, but leading off the idea that he wore masks even after COVID would lead me to believe that he had somewhat of a leftist point of view on things, or he had fear, one of the two. But we can't say here or there about that at the moment. But what we can say is that this gentleman absolutely tried to end the life of Donald J. Trump. The Secret Service stepped in and took control of the situation. Someone that was an innocent bystander was killed in the process, and it should have never happened. And I hope that it doesn't happen again. So with that being said, guys, hey, I appreciate you stopping by and checking out episode 1 right here on the very first episode of Political Divergence.